Yeah, so I am from Dublin. I live in Dubai at the moment. So I run my own health and fitness coaching business, working 100% online. Um, so me and you started working on a one-to-one basis around this time last year, maybe a bit over a year ago. We've been working more or less for the full year, but more recently, well, initially it was more kind of on a consulting role, but now in the last kind of 6 weeks, um, Phil's been a bit more hands-on, a bit more in the business, looking after the marketing side of things for myself.
Let's just establish kind of what was the situation before we started doing this. So for context for people watching, Niall had been through our program, like learning how to do coaching and marketing and whatever. And the place that the program left him is like it's quite heavy on learning sales, on learning the actual coaching, the delivery, building your program out. And the marketing is more like kind of organic. It's get the people that are already around you to get clients. And it leaves it at that stage, like prior to, okay, let's scale this up to take it out to new audiences, etc. So what was the situation like at that point where you'd been through level 1 and level 2, you'd learned the coaching, you'd switched to being online, you'd learned all the sales and everything. What were some of the problems, what are the limitations of where you were at that stage?
Yeah, so definitely like up until that point, I'd never done apart from like probably like 3 or 4 years ago when I'd tested out Facebook ads and they obviously went horribly. So up until that point, I'd never done any paid marketing. So it was all organic, cold outreach, just posting on LinkedIn and Facebook. So I hadn't really realized the extent that I could actually scale the business. So you actually opened my eyes to that and showed me the actual scalability of actually paying for advertising. So there's a huge limitation on.
Sorry, no. Can we make this like real specific and actionable for people? So like what, let's talk about like lead flow or sales calls or whatever. Like what was it like before when you were doing organic and Facebook, LinkedIn? What kind of volume were you getting there? What was some of the limitations? How long was it taking you to get those people, etc.?
Yeah, so most of my sales calls were coming in through cold outreach. So that was very manual, it was very time consuming. Um, the actual process from sending a message to actually having a conversation with someone over Messenger, which is obviously, people aren't on Messenger 24/7. So the actual time it took to get someone onto a call, it could be up to a week and even at that, like there's only so many messages you can send out a week to a certain amount of people, and there's only a very small percentage of those people that will reply, and then there's an even smaller percentage that will actually be interested. So I think the most amount of sales calls that I had up until that point in a month was about 16 or 17. And once we went on to ads, that jumped from probably like 16 or 17 all the way up to like 30 or 40. So and without any manual work, so it was all automated from that point. So it was a huge time saver. My volume of calls like tripled on a normal month, doubled from my best month.
Obviously, I for a long time taught the situation you was in before, reach out and sound to people that you already know and what have you. And that is the right way to start a business, because if you don't know how to sell, if you don't have a good program, you don't have any social proof, you go and run paid ads, you're probably just setting your money on fire. You also don't have the skill sets to do any of it. So it's absolutely the right thing to do, but it does have a limitation, and it quickly hits a ceiling. But then I think it starts to go downhill because you start to burn through your warm audience, and it starts to take its toll on you in terms of burnout. What do you think, had we not switched over to paid, where do you think you would be, or what do you think the business would have gone?
I think it I think it would be the same at best. I think the way online coaching has gone, like everyone's just doing what we were doing back then. We were probably a small bit ahead of the game, but not too far ahead of the game. But now I think it's really caught up, and people are a lot less responsive in that space. So I don't think I would have made too much progress, or definitely don't think I would have made progress from where I was at. And possibly like it'd be even in a worse off place. So I don't think I'd be getting as much traction from that strategy, from that marketing strategy.
We look at the framework of the lead generation side of your business now. What does it look like? So imagine there's a blank piece of paper and you're explaining it to whoever's watching. What's the mechanisms? Where's the involvement from you? And what's the client journey or prospect journey?
Yeah, so I only come in once a sales call is booked. So from you're looking after the ad spend, and all the way down the funnel to someone booking in a call. So from that point, I'll take over. I'll reach out to the prospect, confirm the sales call. And then obviously look after the sales call. So, from that perspective, it takes a huge amount of, not, I wouldn't say time, but actually like mental energy of, you know, getting lead costs down, being able to get qualified leads, and having that first part of the process handed over to you. Like it allows me to focus and put more energy into the focus on time.
Broke up a little bit there. I think it's me. What was the last sentence you said?
So I said, I think it was you, by the way. But it was that you were, or that you take charge of the first part of the process, and then I'm able to look after the end of the process, and that just gives me much more kind of time and focus to be able to focus on bringing in revenue and do the thing that I'm supposed to do.
Hmm. And what was it looking like in terms of outcomes? So how many calls you taking, how many you closing, how much revenue you're doing?
Yes, so we've set a goal of booking in between 12 to 15 calls per week. We've a target of 60% show up rate and a close rate of 50%, which is what we hit last month. Last month was my best month of the year. Doubled my income from the previous 2 months. But also, as well as that, I think we've cut our lead cost down by about 70%. So double my income, drop my lead cost by 70%. I think our return on ad spend over the previous 5 weeks has been 14x. So not too bad. Yeah, so that's been the results of the last 5 weeks.
How is that for you now, as the business owner? Like, how are you feeling about going forwards and progressing, hitting your goals for the year and beyond?
Yeah, I feel a lot more confident being able to actually hit the kind of hefty goal that I've set for myself. It was the goal at the start of the year, but different things going on, lots of different delays, nothing to do with myself and yourself. We weren't working together for that kind of first 3 or 4 months of the year. So I kind of shifted my start of the year goal to the start of July, and I'm working July to July. So I'm on course given the first 5 weeks. And obviously just me and you working together for the first 5 weeks. There's obviously testing going on, there's refinement. So we can only see the trajectory upwards from here. So in terms of how confident I am going forward, I'm hugely confident that we can just keep refining, keep getting better, keep improving the process. I think the process is the big thing that you've given me, and having a process and being able to make data driven decisions going forward bit by bit incrementally, instead of throwing a whole lot of stuff in, hoping some of it works, and if I'm not happy with it, then it's just completely changing it. Okay, so you're able to really funnel the process, but also my ideas, which I think for any business owner can relate to this. Like, you have a million and one ideas going on in your head, and not only are some of them, or a lot of them, terrible, but also it takes a lot of time to actually produce those ideas, test them, and then if it doesn't work, then you're kind of back at square one. So having you being able to, as I said, funnel those ideas saves me a lot of time, but also, like, with your expertise, we can kind of pick out good ones and say no to 95% of them.
I think that's an interesting point that you touched on there about making data-driven decisions. What does that actually look like? Again, just I think actionable thing gives some value to the person watching this. How would they start to make more data-driven decisions, and why would they do that?
Yeah, so we built out a full funnel, but the way that we started to refine it was from the very top of the funnel. So it was like 3 different ads or 4 different ads, and we started with the headline. So test that, find the best one, then test 4 different hooks, 4 different images. This is all done one step at a time. So as we're refining, we're getting the ads that works the best, and then from the ads, it's to the funnel. I have a couple of different funnels, see which one works the best, and from there to an application form. We have data there that we can go by, see where people are falling off different questions, all the way down to sales call, and from there we can see show up rate, and close rate. So it's all data driven. There's no feeling involved. There's no, which would have been what I would have previously done. It's like, I don't feel like this is working, but I had no data to back it up. So everything from top to bottom is tracked, it's measurable, and we have the numbers to go by.
What do you think the outcome of that is?
The outcome of that is that eventually, we're not quite there yet. We've been working for 4 or 5 weeks, but eventually we're going to have a scalable funnel. So something that we can, confidently say that this works, and we can just pour more money into it. And that's where I see it going. That's where I can see the scalability of what we're doing. And ultimately, that gives us a lot more control over my time, over I can choose to take on a week. I can, nearly say with certainty that if we put this amount of money in, we can expect to get this amount of calls, this amount of people to show up, and to make this amount of money. So it takes the uncertainty of going from month to month, not really knowing how much income you're going to get.
How does that affect you personally? Just feeling more certain.
Yeah, I had a really, really tough 3 months, I'd say April, March, May, where income was very uncertain. I think, like, I made one sale in April, and I was very directionless. And I've moved out to Dubai in the last year. One of the main reasons for me actually doing that is to save up a lot of money, to go home with back to Ireland. So when you know you bring your missus out to Dubai kicking and screaming, and you've sold her the big dream of coming home and buying a big house in Ireland, and things aren't going as you'd expected or as you had planned. It put a huge amount of stress on me, to the point where I was working 12-hour days, 6 days a week, not getting a huge amount of return. It wasn't for a lack of effort or a lack of hard work. And now, like, I've been able to go on holiday the last 2 weeks, and I knew that if I didn't have the month, rightly or wrongly, that I didn't have the month that we had working together, that 2 weeks away would have just been spent thinking about my business isn't where I want it to be. And it was just 4 weeks of me and you working together that I was actually able to go and enjoy 2 weeks away, which you can't put a price on.